showing you how to use the IBR-ARJ platform. Okay, so for today we'll be discussing about some major roles or users, which include the desk officer, the head of the beneficiary institution, the lead researcher, the IBR committee, and then for the ARG platform, we'll be discussing about the head of institution and the lead chief journal editor. So we'll be going through how each of these users use this particular application. So for you to access this, we have to go to ibr/arj.desmond.government.ng. The link will be in the description and then also on the screen, which I know you can see now. Okay, so for you to access this, when you go to the link ibr/arj.f1.government.ng, which is a cloud-based solution, which means you can access this intervention from any part of the world, anywhere in the world, provided you have a stable internet connection. So when we click on Get Started, it takes you to the login page. The login page is where you provide your username and password. We also have a link where you can reset your password, supposing you had forgotten your password. Okay, so now for you to be able to log in and have access, your account has to be created by your desk officer. So the desk officer for each institution has already been created by TEDsFund using your official TEDsFund email to create these accounts. So if your institution does not have such email, please do well to contact the fund for that to be provided for you. So once the email has been created for the desk officer is the entry point for all other users. Okay, so the desk officer would now sign in. So this is the dashboard for the desk officer. On his dashboard, he's able to see the total number of users that he has available for his institution. He also can see the total number of proposals that are currently on his desk, which are proposals that he needs to treat on or work on. And then you can also see the total number of proposals that have been submitted. Okay, so he also has a chart here where he can see the, in summary, the charts or the workflow he has currently on his desk. So when a desk officer logs in, he's also expected to use the help link, which will give you a detailed breakdown of how to use this application. So when you click on the help link, it gives you a detailed explanation of how to use this portal. Okay. So when he logs in, he's also expected to go to his profile and update his profile because the desk officer's account is a transferable account. The desk officer at each point in time is expected to upload his first name, his last name, his email address, and then his title as well. Then he will click submit. So when he clicks submit, his profile is now updated. Okay, so now we'll start with creating a new user. The desk officer has the privileges of creating new users. They also can manage users and disable users, and then can also reset their password. So click on add user, and then the desk officer is not expected to know the first name or the other name or the last name of the lead researcher, but he's expected to know his email address, which is the required item he needs to provide for this account creation. Okay, this was good. So it is expected to select the row. So on the row, we can see that we have the head of the initial institution, the institution-based research committee, the lead researcher as well. Okay. So when we click on this institution-based research, you can see that we have an option to specify whether he's the chairman of the committee or not. Because it's expected for the chairman him to approve the submission when it has been made. Okay. But for the purpose of this demo, we are going with the lead researcher. So when you click on create, it takes you back to your list of users and you can now see the user that we just created. Okay, so the email address serves as the username for this lead researcher. So we would now proceed to log in to this email address so that we can see what the lead researcher can do. So we'll now provide the username, the email, and then a default password, which will be sent to you by mail. And then when you try to log in for the first time, the system will prompt you to reset your password so that you can own your password and then it can be encrypted as well. So once that is done, you can now sign in after you reset your password successfully. So on the lead researcher's dashboard, this is what you can see. You can see a welcome message and then a description on what he can do. The lead researcher can also, at the point of login, go to help and see these different guidelines that can you can use to effectively use this system. Okay, so when he opens each of the guidelines, it will now give him a brief rundown of what he can access on this platform. Okay, so when we log into the lead researcher's dashboard on his account, so this is the lead researcher's dashboard. The lead researcher can simply go to the help and then be able to access different guidelines, which are different detailed guidelines that will give him pictorial description and rundown of what and how to use this platform. But besides that, we'll move over to the first point, which is the profile. So the lead researcher is expected to fill his profile. So the details he provides for this profile is what will now be used to populate his lead researcher's form, which is one of the required documents for IBR submission. So we'll click on edit, and then he has to upload his passport to the picture. Um, After that, he has to provide his first name, his phone number, let's select his title, his gender, state of origin, date of birth. Then, after providing his biodata, he's expected to provide his academic details, which include his staff category, whether it's an academic staff or whether it's a non-academic staff. Then he has to select his department, then the date of first appointment, um, work experience duration, how many years you have spent in the institution you are applying through. Then you're expected to upload the signature. You're also expected to upload your CV, your appointment letter, and your confirmation of appointment. Then you're also expected to provide your qualifications, your academic qualifications, and then dates when they were in. Then you can keep adding more qualifications by clicking the add qualification button there. You can also delete qualifications by clicking the delete button. So lastly, the lead researcher is expected to provide his bank name, bank account number, and then the sort code for his bank. And then when he's done with all this, he submits this, and then to now redirect you to a profile page where you will see what you just provided. So it will give you a display of all the items you provided in the form. So this is more like a preview. You can see your passport, your academic qualifications, your bank details, and then as well you can always go back to edit and then change any of this in case there are more qualifications, like these are your qualifications. So you can actually change and increase them if you have more. So when the profile is done, the lead researcher now moves over to proposals. So on proposals, we have about six or seven, 8 pages. First page is the first page. The next one is the literature review, the research methodology, results, work plan, budget, references, and then the last page is the preview. So for the purpose of this, I'll just pick dummy data that I'll use to populate this just so I'll just pick this and then I'll come. So the title is online. So just have to provide the executive summary, introduction, statement of problem, aims and objective. And then on click of next, when you are moving over to the next page, the form auto saves all the inputs you have provided in the previous page. So what this means is that whenever you log out and log in, your details will still be exactly where you left them. So next page, mm, next page. Also, you're expected to give a detailed breakdown on how you intend to achieve this project. So, paper, and then you're expected to state the duration, which is in months, for you to be able to achieve this submission. The next page is the budget file page. We have budget categories, and for each category, there's already a detailed guideline on how to access the information on which you can find on the Debt Fund website, or you can also see it on our help guideline, where you can see the budget breakdown on how much you're expected to spend on each budget category. This budget is also capped at 2 million naira. So what that means is that you cannot exceed 2 million naira on your submission. So we choose personal cost, and then we list the name of the item, and then how much we need for that, and then the description. And then you can also add another budget item. And then as we are providing the sum, you can notice that the amount is totally, so it will give you a brief rundown of how much you have spent so far. If you keep providing this and then exceed 2 million naira, the phone will warn you or inform you that you've exceeded 2 million naira. And when you have such warning, the phone will not submit except we alter the price to go back to the limit. So I'll okay, and then I'll provide a description, provide the budget, the reference, and then the next page is the preview page. Getting to the preview page, it prompts you to add co-researchers. Supposing you have co-researchers which you intend to partner with in this submission, you're expected to click add co-researchers, or you're expected to click close to close the modal. But we intend to add co-researchers, so I'll click add co-researchers. So this will now take you to a new form where you now provide the basic details of your co-researcher, the gender, his phone number, his email address, his state of origin, his passport, his institution, and then he's expected to upload his CV, his position, and then his academic qualification. So when you are done, expected to click save. This will now save the information that you have provided. Most all the fields are compulsory and should be populated, otherwise it will not save. So once it has been saved, it will redirect you back to the proposal submission page so that you can review your proposal and then now make your submission. Okay. So we also have a preview that you can download, and by clicking on this, and you can now go through your proposal submission. So you're expected to go through your submission effectively before you click on submit. So to also avoid submitting submission proposals in error, we have put in a check. Oh, okay, this is from the budget check. So it's telling us that the personnel cost budget cannot exceed 10% of the total budget. So this proposal would not submit unless we go back to the budget page and then would reduce the amount for the personnel cost. And then we'll click on next and we'll go to the preview page, and then we can now click on submit. So when you click on submit, it tells you that are you sure you want to submit your proposal. If you click OK, it submits. If you click cancel, you can now continue with your proposal. So but for this demonstration, we want to submit the submission. So when we click on this, it processes and then the proposal is submitted. Once your proposal is submitted, you can no longer edit it. You can only preview what you submitted by clicking on preview, which will now bring you to a page where you now see a PDF format of the files you submitted. So you can also check on your history as well to see all the different proposals you submitted as well. Okay, so once the proposal is submitted, we'll now go back to the dashboard. On the dashboard, you can now see that a, a we have a flow here that moves according to the point your proposal submission is. So once you submit, you can see that it has moved to submitted, and then it would keep on moving depending on the point your proposal is at. We also have comments. These are where you see comments from the desk officers, from the head of institution, and then also have disbursement letters. Disbursement letters are when your submission has been approved. This is where you would see your own copy of the disbursement letter. So at this point, we are done with the task of the lead researcher. So we'll now go back to the desk officer's account to see how he would receive this submission and then process it. So we'll now create a new tab, and then we'll now log out the lead researcher. So now we would have to now log in the head of the beneficiary institution. Who would now receive this submission and minutes on it for the IBR committee to act on. So this is the HBI's dashboard. So on his dashboard, he can see the total number of proposals that are on his desk. He can also see the total number of submissions that has been done. He also has access to see the disbursement letters that have been sent to his institution as well. And then he can also have a look at the chart. They can give him a brief rundown of submissions going on in his institution. So he also has help where he has a detailed explanation on how to use each part of the system. Okay. So when we log in as the head of the institution, he's expected to come to his profile and provide his basic details. Okay. And then when he's done with that, he would now move over to proposals. Okay, so now on getting to proposals, you can now see proposals that has been submitted to his desk, which he needs to act on. So he would click on view. Then when he clicks on view, he would now see a breakdown of the submissions. You can see them that are in tabs, and then you can read each of these items before he can now make a conclusive decision. Okay, so this part also is the lead researcher's form. This is this is populated with the information the lead researcher provides on his profile. Okay, so now this is loading. So when this is done, you would now see that this is the same form which you filled manually and then you normally submit to the fund. Okay, so this is it. And then the lead researcher can, the head of the institution can also download these files and then read them offline. And then once he approves them, he can now come back and click on process. By clicking on process, he will select the next text he wants to send this proposal to. If he has issues with these proposals and he wants to send it to the desk officer for him to communicate back to the researcher, he can click on this and then he will send the proposal to the desk officer. But if you also want to send it to the research committee, so you click on the research committee and then you give his comment. Okay, so when he clicks move, this proposal is now moved to the IBR committee, and then the head of the institution cannot see any of the submissions again. So at this point, he also has history where he can see all the proposals that has passed through his desk. Okay, so as the HBI has approved the submission, we will now move over to the IBR committee to see how they can recommend the submission. Okay, so this is the IBR committee dashboard. You can see total number of proposals on his desk and then proposal that are submitted to him as well. So you can as well provide his profile and then, but we would not be going there. We'll move over to proposals. So when we get to proposals, we can see the proposals that are on his desk. As so you can click on view and then you can look through it. Also, the comments from the head of the insurance shop appears in red so that you can easily spot out instructions from your head as well. So for this account that I signed in, this member of the committee is what we call an IBR committee member, and then he's not chairman of the committee. So he can only add comments to proposals. So I will add a comment and then you click on comment. Okay. So we'll now log into an IBR committee chairman's account to now see how he will do the final approval and after going through the different comments. So this is the IBR committee chairman. So his account is still the same like the normal IBR committee members, but he now has extra privileges of approving a proposal. He also has help, which gives detailed breakdown on how he can use this system effectively. So when he goes to proposals, he will now see proposals on his desk, and then he can also see the comments or the comment trail following this submission. And then if this submission meets his requirements, he can now click on this is good and then he would shortlist this proposal. The essence of shortlisting proposals is for him to be able to batch proposal submissions together and upload minutes of the meeting backing up this proposal submission to show that the board has approved the submission. So when he approves that, we'll now go to shortlisted proposals. So at this point, he can now see multiple proposals that he has shortlisted that he's trying to batch together. He can as well view this submission, can actually delete this submission. So if he's okay with the submissions that are here, he's now expected to upload minutes of meeting where he and his committee members agreed that this proposal is what submitting. So when he does this, you now select the next steps, which is the head of the institution, for his final approval. So when he does this, he clicks on recommend proposal, and then this recommends that proposal for the head of the institution to give his final approval. So we'll now log in back as the head of the beneficiary institution to now shortlist this submission. So log out. Then we now log in. So when we log in, we are no longer trying to view them as proposals. We now want to see proposals that have been shortlisted. Okay. So at this point, you can now see proposals that have been shortlisted. So the head of the institution will now upload a cover letter backing up this submission, and then he can also step down a particular submission if he does not approve of this. But if he does, he would now upload a cover letter, and then he would now approve all. So at this point, once he approves the submission, this submission is now ready and it has been sent to the tax officer, who would now forward it to the firm. So we'll now log in as the tax officer, and we will now see how he forwards the submissions to tax firm. Okay, right. So upon logging in as the tax officer, we will move over to proposals, and then we can now see the title says approved batches. So at this point, we can now click send to test form to make this batch submission to the form. So this is the end of the road for IBR submissions for institutions. So after this point, test form will now take it up from here. Okay, right. Okay, so let's now head into the ARJ platform. So for you to log into the ARJ platform, an account has already been created for your Dex officer, which is also the entry point for ARJ submissions as well. So we'll sign in, and then I can now see a dashboard for the ARJ Dex officer. You can see the total number of users, number of submissions, and then how many proposals have been submitted. You can also see a chart as well that will give you a summary. And also access the help, which will give you a detailed guide on how to access the form. So the desk officer is also expected to provide his profile, which includes his name, phone number, and email, just like we did with the IBR, by clicking edit profile, and then it brings him to where he provide these details. He also has access to create and manage users. So the desk officer can create and manage users. So you can set password as well. You can disable users. So we'll go forward to add a new user. So the tax officer is not entitled to know the first name, the last name, or other name of the applicant or the staff he wants to create. But he's expected to know his username, his email, and then he's expected to provide the role, which is either the head of the beneficiary institution or the journal chief editor. So we'll create for the journal chief editor, and we'll click on create. So this new user has been created. So we'll now log in as the desk officer for this institution. So, so this is a new account. For you to access it, you're expected to update your password so that the password can be encrypted and then you can own the password. Okay. So once the password reset has been successful, you can now log in. So when you log in, you see a dashboard where you can see a little write-up and then you can move straight to click on begin submission. So this takes us to your profile page where you're expected to provide your details, which include your title, your last name, your other name, your phone number, your state of origin, and then your gender. So once you're done, you click on submit. Okay. So this saves these details and then you can now move over to submissions. Okay. So on submissions, the ARJ platform requires that each institution should not have more than 3 active ARJ submissions. So when you get here, you can see previous or active submissions that have been made by your institution. You can actually click on add new journal for you to add a new journal. So you're expected to provide the title of the journal, the status of the intervention, whether it's a new journal or an existing journal. You're expected to provide evidence of the website, the volume, and then issue 3. For maximum copies, you're expected to not exceed 3,000 copies. So whenever you exceed 3,000 copies, the form would inform you that you exceeded 3,000 copies and then it would remove your input. Okay. Next part is the work plan where you're expected to provide a detailed breakdown on how you intend to achieve this proposal or project in weeks. Then the next one is the budget where you're expected to give a detailed breakdown of how much it would cost you to carry out this solution. So when you're done, you're also expected to upload supporting documents, which include minutes of the meeting, front and back pages of the last edition, editorial policy, evidence of registration with ISN, evidence of indexing and abstracting, acceptance and quotation, and then list of editors. So when you are done and you click next, this will upload all the documents and provide you with a preview where you can see all the documents that you've provided so far, and then you can be able to criticize each of those documents, whether this is the right document, and then when you are sure this is the document, you can now click on submit. It will now prompt you to be sure the submission that you want to make it. So when you are sure, click OK, and then this submits your proposal. So for the chief journal editor, he can actually view submissions that he made that was made with his account, and then he can see a preview. Okay. So we'll now log in as the desk officer. We'll now receive the submission, and after checking, we'll now push it to the head of institution for final approval. So we'll log out, um, log in as the head of the desk officer for the institution. And then when we go to submissions, you can now see the submission that has been made. The desk officer is expected to cross-check the items that the journal chief editor uploaded. And then if it is satisfactory, it's now expected to push this to the head of the institution, who will now log in and approve this submission. So we now log in as the chief, as the head of the beneficiary institution, and then they will now approve this submission. So when we sign in, the head of the institution has access to the dashboard, which shows number of submissions on its desk, total number of submissions made so far. It also has access to see channel of communication that has been opened for its institution, and as well disbursement letters that have been sent to its institution. Okay. So the head of the institution can also provide its profile, which includes his name, gender, phone number, and email. You can also go straight to manage submissions. Okay. So when it gets to manage submissions, you can now view the submission that has been checklisted by the tax officer. So he will go through and then he will now approve this submission. He will now shortlist this and then he clicks on comment. So once he has shortlisted this proposal, he can now go to shortlisted submissions. This is where he will batch multiple submissions so that he can upload one cover letter covering these submissions as well. You can also step them down and you can also view them at this point. So he will now upload the cover letter, which is a sign of authority, and then you select the text. He's moving this to, and then he clicks on approve all. So at this point, this submission has been approved and sent to the desk officer, who will now go through the submission and would now push these submissions to the form. So when you log in as the desk officer, you can now see approved submissions, and then once he clicks send to that form, the submission has been made as well. So the desk officer can also track submissions and know where each submission is at currently. Okay, so that's it all. Thank you.